All right, so why do people drink alcohol if it tastes bad? Many people have their first experience of alcohol at a young age, and 9 times out of 10, they report it's not a happy experience. They tell us that it tasted terrible, it burnt, they spat it out in disgust, but they persisted in drinking it because of a number of factors like peer pressure, wanting to fit in, wanting to be grown up. Everyone was doing it. They were observing or seeing other people having fun and being silly or losing their inhibitions or their reservations. And once the dopamine kicked in, they were hooked on the buzzy euphoric feelings. Later, they grew accustomed to the taste and they learned how to mask it with orange juice, or they picked drinks that were fruity like Alco Pops and so on. So there's lots of stuff in alcoholic drinks to mask that bitter ethanol taste. As adults, we like to profess that we like the taste of wine or beer, but are we really drinking for the taste? I can remember binge drinking through my weekend stock of beers one time, and then I settled on a nondescript bottle of wine that was sitting in the back of the bar to continue on with. It was a clean skin, it looked terrible, and it tasted worse, but I kept on drinking it, not for the taste, but for the alcohol that it contained to get me drunk or drunker. I'll be honest, I gave up drinking about a week after that. So it was bad. It was really bad, and it was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. But once our brains learn that we get a dopamine hit from the alcohol, we tend to chase the buzzy euphoric feeling that we get from that first drink. And we overlook any discomfort we might have had initially. We get used to that disagreeable taste and we look forward to the buzz. The buzz outweighs the yuck factor until we don't notice that yuck factor anymore. This is sometimes known as associative learning. We overlook the taste because we associate the alcoholic drink with relaxation and pleasure. It's stimulating the reward system. We're chasing that dopamine hit, that buzz. And we know that alcohol creates a need for itself because it hijacks the reward system. We want more and more alcohol as we go along to chase the extra buzz, but that extra buzz never comes. And we can get to the stage where, we might not like the alcohol because of the consequences of our drinking, but we want it for the buzz regardless. So we can end up liking, but not, or sorry, wanting, but not liking drinking. And this is, a little red flag for addiction, perhaps. Want it all the time, but we don't like it because of what it does to us or what it does to our family, our finances, our health. But we're still out there chasing it. So there's many alcoholic products that we drink that contain a myriad of substances that mask that taste of the ethanol. So there's sugars, there's flavonoids, congeners, there's oils, there's juices, botanicals, and so on. People that are deep in addiction are known to drink methylated spirits, which is like 98% ethanol with tempered with juice or something else to cut down those burning effects. Are they drinking it for the taste? No. They're also tolerant to the small amount of methanol in there that makes it methylated spirits, which tends to make everyone else violently ill. So, next time somebody says they drink for the taste, it's worth asking, is it really the flavor they're chasing or is it the feeling? From that first grimace to the final glass, alcohol's grip isn't about gourmet notes and refined palates. It's about conditioning. It's about dopamine and the reward system that's been hijacked by all of that. We like to cover everything up and, package it in a way that's acceptable and nice, but underneath it all, it is about the conditioning. It is about dopamine and it is about the reward system and what alcohol does to us. Truth is a lot of us don't like the taste. We learned how to tolerate it and we learned how to dress it up, and some of us ignore it altogether. When the buzz becomes the goal, the taste really becomes irrelevant. All right, thanks for watching.